What's going on, everybody? And welcome to another episode of SCUM. This right here, what you've got your beady little eyes locked on, is the podcast where we dive into the deepest, darkest, murkiest waters with a plethora of legendary guests. I am, of course, your host, your bastard of ceremonies, the numero uno scumbag, Rex Ruger. That's Rex with three. Count them, three X's. But you might also know me as a.k.a. the King of Sleaze, a.k.a. the hair metal high priest, and most importantly, a.k.a. Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. Yup, that's right. That's my pops, the wellspring from which I was born. Take a look, and it is obvious that I am the son of glam, the front man for the band. Just smoked a few grams. I got a million fans because I'm your ice cream man. Mr. Wop, Bop, Loo, Bop, Wop, Bam, Bam, Shazam. Hot damn. And I am feeling good today, and most importantly, everybody in the house is looking good. And that is, of course, made possible by, oh, look what just dropped in. Get you some and spray responsibly. Can't urge you that, do that enough. Spray responsibly. We got enough ozone problems. Thank you, 80s. Blame everything on the 80s, right? I mean, come on. This is, of course, well, first of all, getting ahead of myself, coming to you as always from the lush lavender lounge of love, and joined as always by my consigliere, my confidant, my doorman, my head of security, my everything. That's right, Keith. You are my everything. Keith Hernandez, puppet. A man who speaks softly. And when he does, I hear him. Because I'm always listening, Keith. Always got my back, that guy. This is, of course, the No Frills podcast. Why? Why no frills, Rex? Why? Well, because what I give you is better than frills. And it's called thrills. And you're looking at it right here. This face. Plus, I don't know jack shit about technology, and you guys all know this, so stop expecting thrills. Or frills, I'm sorry. Too much wacky weed, folks. What can I say? I'm screwing up my words. But today we got a good episode for you on PodScum. We're going to dive in. We're going to hit you off with a great guest today. As always, nothing but legends. Myself included. Pops, Keith, I know you're excited about this one. We're going to get down to it here, folks. It's going to be a good one. A barn burner. This is one that I attempted to do not that long ago, and technological problems, internet connection problems, bad weather in my area of upstate New York. Surprise. But we're giving it another go. So here we go. My guest is wanting in, so let's let him in and do this. There he is, Spencer Swain. Take two.
Okay, it works. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you and see you fine, brother. Yeah, Spencer Swain, a guy that can play any goddamn thing out there with fucking strings. Well, I'm right about that, right? If it's got strings, you play it, right?
Go for it. Why not?
Yeah, why not, right? Flogging Molly. Some people might know you from ZOX. Some people might know you as a fellow Rhode Island guy. You're a Rhode Island guy, right?
Yeah.
Are you freezing your ass off there right now or no?
No, actually, it's kind of disappointing that it's not winter.
Yeah, I'm in upstate New York, so it's like 40 degrees and fucking raining here. I don't know if I'm in upstate New York or Seattle.
Yeah, no, I mean, I still have a fire going. I'm like pretending it's winter, you know?
Yeah. So what's going on, man? We tried this before, for people that don't know. And dude, that night that I had you on here, and we tried it a couple different times, man, but it was such a cold snap. I'm guessing that could be the only thing, man. The satellites up there in the ether have got to be temperamental when it comes to Arctic temperatures. I don't know what else to attribute it to. I've done I've done 80 some odd episodes, man, and I've never, ever. It's either that or you're a fucking jinx, my friend. I don't know, one or the other.
Well, we'll see what happens tonight.
We'll see what happens. So, man, what's going on? Life is good?
Life is good. Yeah, life's good. Getting busy again.
Now, I know when we talked offline and we set this up, you were talking about that you were good and going to be home until the end of the month. And then what's going on? You got Flogging Molly stuff to go do?
I do. Yeah, I actually got home just a little while ago today from doing some packing of the gear.
Yeah.
So getting stuff prepped, ready to go.
Yeah.
That's coming up soon. So
how many dates do you guys go out and do? Like when you guys go out for a time? Because I imagine you guys almost have fucking families and obligations and shit like that. Like you can't go out and hit it like you did when you were like 20 and be like, hey, I'll see you in 6 months, right? I mean, those days are over.
Well, yes and no.
Yes and no.
No, this one's kind of a long tour. I think it's like 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Which is long.
Yeah. Yeah, that is long.
But since coming back after the pandemic, they've kind of been longer tours.
Yeah.
But I mean, that band has hit it hard for a long time.
Yeah, they have. Yeah. They're road dogs.
I mean, we all have. Like,
yeah. Yeah. Is it harder, man? Because like you got married in the last couple of years, right?
I did, yeah, 3 years ago.
Does it make going on the road? Does it make going on the road hard? You know what I mean? Like juggling family obligations, man. Do you find that the dynamic of just being able to just lock the place up and just go off is different now?
It's really not that different. We've known each other a long time, and like I've always done this.
Yeah.
So it's not anything new for either of us, really.
Right.
I mean, way back, I used to have roommates and stuff, and so like I was just leaving them at home, like
right.
But no, she understands all of it, and when there's a show someplace that's easy to get to, or maybe a couple of days off, or whatever, like she'll come out and hang out for a couple of days, or
yeah,
like we're doing the I'm not sure if she can do it this year, but in the past we're doing the St. Patrick's Day thing and at the Palladium again. She's flown out for that because that's a fun time.
Yeah,
but yeah, total understanding.
What does Flogging Molly have planned for? Will you guys still be out on the road come St. Patrick's Day? Because you guys are obviously, for those people that don't know, Flogging Molly, obviously very Celtic influenced. A perfect band to fucking jam out to on St. Patty's Day when you're drinking and beating up your friends. Probably you guys and the Dropkick Murphys would probably be the top bands right there that would probably get played a lot around the old St. Patty's Day.
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah. Rowdy. Yeah.
But yeah, we go past that. We go until the end of the month.
Yeah.
To the end of March.
But is there a date specifically planned on even, I'm asking you about your itinerary, but anything specifically planned for St. Patty's Day? I don't even know what that falls on, but
yeah, for sure. On St. Patrick's Day is the 17th. It's at the Hollywood Palladium in Hollywood, California.
That's awesome.
It's a great time. If anyone's interested, check it out.
The beer will be flowing. The Celtic inspired music will be flowing.
I don't know what the plan is this year, but in the past there's been kind of like a block party outside, bunch of bands out of like other activities.
Yeah,
it's a fun time. It's great.
Yeah. Do you find sometimes, man, that what was I going to add? Well, the Celtic influence in the Flogging Molly music, is that something that that you've always been into?
I think you asked this last time, and
yeah,
it is, but I've never been this involved in it.
No.
Yeah. But yeah, of course it has been. Yeah.
I mean, who brings that to the band? Is it Dave?
Sorry?
Is it Dave that really brings that element to the band? Like without knowing his background, it's like, obviously Dave King, formerly of Fastway, where a lot of people would know him from Fastway. Is he the one that brings that Irish element to it though? Is he big into the Celtic stuff?
Well, he is Irish.
He is. Okay. You can't really tell with the last name King. I don't want to assume anything, I mean.
He started the band. It's his thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the answer to that is yes.
So when you guys get together to create, now you were just on 2022's Anthem album. Is that the only album that you've been on with them?
Yeah, correct.
So when you guys get together in a studio to do an album, does like Dave already come in with all the ideas? Because you said it's kind of his band, or is it a collaborative effort? You guys all bring ideas to the table, or does Dave just kind of come in and say, here's what's up, here's what everyone's going to play?
Dave writes all the songs.
He does.
Yeah, and everyone fleshes them out.
Okay. So everyone kind of feels out their individual parts and kind of.
Yeah. At least that's how it happened this time.
Yeah. And for people out there who might be fans of ZOX, what's going on with ZOX?
Not a whole lot right now. But we did during the pandemic, we put out a collection of B-side songs that we had never released before. That's kind of the last thing that we've done. You mentioned is it hard to leave with everyone having families and all that?
Right.
Everyone does have families and other jobs right now. So, and we're spread out all over the country. So we talk about getting together, doing a reunion show every now and then. But it's pretty tough to get everyone on the same page there. Schedule wise, we all want to do it.
No, I get where you're coming from there, man. I don't think our family has had a Thanksgiving, which always falls on a Thursday, where we've all been able to get around the table. We always seem to have it the following weekend, because a lot of the family works in health, myself included. We work in healthcare. It's everybody's conflicting schedule. I mean, it's hard to get a whole group of people all to say, "Yup, I'm free at this time on this day." Let's do it.
That's exactly what happens in my family.
It's hard. I mean, I honestly can't think of when the last time was we actually had Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving and we were all present and accounted for and sitting around a table together. It just doesn't happen.
That's so true. It definitely didn't happen this year.
Well, your family's kind of the same situation.
Well, we're all scattered. And, my wife, we try and have Thanksgiving with both sides of the family. It's hard to schedule for sure.
When we were all hunkered down going through the quarantine thing, what were you doing with yourself then? Being like a creative person who works in the arts and entertainment field, did you find it a particularly fruitful time to create, or did you just sit around and veg? What did you do during that time?
That every day was different. That I tried really hard to be creative as I possibly could. But if there's nothing driving you, it's kind of hard to really get out what you want, I guess. There was definitely a lot of sitting around. But I mean, a lot of yard work.
The yard looked great.
As far as being creative, I try when I have time off, I try to sit down and write some music or do some other kind of something creative. But it's not always possible.
No,
it doesn't always come out.
Well, and that was kind of that whole period was kind of like a fucking a bummer for people too. Because obviously getting the kibosh put on doing any live dates and everything. I'm sure that hit a lot of people hard in the pocket.
We we were all set up on stage, sound check done, all ready to go for our first show. When I guess that was March of that year. All set to go, and 2 hours before the show, 2 hours before doors, everything shut down, and so we had to scramble, get packed up. And
what exactly do they come and tell you? What do they come and tell you at that point in time? Because they're literally pulling the plug on you, like you said, hours before the show. What do they come and tell you? That we're in the midst of a pandemic has just started?
I don't 100% know how it happened. But we were in California, and California shut down.
Just boggles my mind. California shut down. It's crazy. I know.
Yeah. We were at a casino show near San Diego somewhere. And of course they have to adhere to state everything. So it was pretty crazy for a minute there.
It was pretty fucking wild. So I know you, as I said at the top of the interview here about in part joking, but I mean, you do play a lot of stringed instruments. What would you say your main instrument is, though?
Well, my first instrument was violin. So, it's not so much my main instrument anymore. I mean, right now with this band, it's banjo and mandolin.
Okay.
I mean, I play a lot of guitar, but string instruments for sure.
The mandolin is one of those instruments, man, that I don't think gets a lot of fucking credit for what a pretty sound it makes, though. It's a nice sounding instrument,
Yeah, someone other than myself plays it.
Yeah. Oh, man, you're beating yourself up on it. Now, the banjo, though. I'm curious about the banjo, though, man, because I think the banjo, out of all the instruments, and I've always been fascinated by the banjo, and I don't know much of its history, but I think this is going to probably propel me to look more into the banjo. And it's not that I want to go pick one up and start playing it. I'm just fascinated by it because it seems to have a very it's kind of got a stigma attached to it where it's very rednecky. I think maybe the movie Deliverance might have done this to a lot of people. You know what I mean? Made them think like, everybody that picks a banjo has got like 3 teeth in their mouth and they're sitting on a porch somewhere down south and they're plucking this thing. And, we think about that inbred looking kid in the beginning of Deliverance sitting there playing it. But I mean, it really is a cool instrument though. It doesn't sound like any other instrument.
It's all of those things are mostly true. Its origin, it's a homemade instrument. So that like people would be just at home wherever they were and just make one, whether it had 2 strings, 1 string, 5 strings.
How would one go about doing that though? Like if somebody were around their house right now and just said, I want to make a banjo, man, like what are the things around the house that you need to construct a banjo?
Well, it's basically it's a drum with strings.
Yeah. Okay.
And so like, I mean, any sort of, and I mean, modern ones have resonators on the back.
Right. Right.
Like if you look back to like, like way back all the, like they're very homemade looking.
Yeah.
You could use like a pot or like, I don't know, stretch a hide or something. I don't know. I don't really know, but
so the actual body of
so
you're saying the actual body of the banjo is actually almost feels like a drum head?
It is a drum head.
It is a drum head. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
and forgive me for not knowing, but how many strings on a banjo?
Well, what I play is a tenor banjo, which is 4 strings.
4 strings. Okay. Okay.
And then most people think of banjo as a 5 string. But again, because of its origin of being like homemade, it could be anything.
Does a banjo player have when you play the banjo, is there like a name associated with it, or are you just a banjo player? You know what I mean? Like meaning how like a guitar player is a guitarist, a bassist. Like when you're a banjo player, are you just a banjo player, a banjoist? I mean, like what?
That's a funny question. I haven't thought of that. I guess just banjo player.
I guess because a banjoist, it just doesn't sound right.
No, it doesn't.
No. I mean, like a violinist, you know what I mean? That sounds, but the banjo, that's another reason why I think the banjo doesn't get a lot of respect. You're just a banjo player, I mean.
I since picking it up, I've realized that it gets a lot of respect, actually.
Does it?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I'm glad. Because I think it's a fucking cool ass instrument, man. If I could go back in time, and I'm going to be 50 years old here in a couple weeks, man. And I always kick myself. And I know people will say it's never too late to start playing an instrument, man. But that's just something that people say to make you fucking feel better so that you'll try. But it can get too late to play an instrument. I'm too late to play an instrument, I think.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, you don't think so? But I mean,
sure
but to get proficient at one,
I mean, it depends on how far you want to take it.
If somebody practiced banjo for an hour a day, and I don't even know if I could find a fucking hour a day, but I mean, let's just say hypothetically I could. How proficient could I get on a banjo in an X amount of time if I were practicing an hour a day?
I mean, that really depends on the way you practice and what you want to accomplish. Like I don't think it's a matter of how long you practice or how much you play. Really, it's kind of like what you want to do with it.
Were you a guy that liked practicing a lot when you were young? Are you one of these guys who would just like sit in your room and just fucking like play a guitar? Like you hear about some of these guys who just they don't come out of their room for hours. You know what I mean? They just play and play and play. Like, were you really dedicated?
Yes and no. I had a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah.
But I also I can get really impatient sometimes. And it's like,
that's my problem. That's my problem.
For like 10 minutes and just be like, all right, I'm gonna go do something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, it's really like what you want to do with it. And like, if you really want to get good, I mean, I don't have any like solid advice there, but like, just go for it, really.
How early on in your life did you know that music was going to be like your career choice? Did you have aspirations of doing anything else, or did you know pretty early on, I'm going to be a musician?
Well, I started really young.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I was thinking. I definitely wasn't thinking about that then.
Yeah.
But once I got to, I got pretty deep into it when I was in my early teens, I guess.
Yeah.
And then really wanted to play music. Um, but I also wanted to go to art school. Like I couldn't tell like which one was the more important for me, and I wasn't really looking at it as a career path. It was just what I wanted.
Art school, as in like you like drawing and painting, stuff like that.
Yeah. All that.
And now, did you continue that as a hobby though? Like, do you paint like recreationally or like? Yeah. And do you do anything with the paintings, or are they more just for you?
Currently mostly for me, but I've done like, well, I did all the ZOX record covers. I did.
Right.
Well, not all of them, but most of them. And like, I'll do stuff like that. Like someone will ask if I could do a t-shirt design or something like that. Like that stuff, I really enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
Still, but mostly it's just for me.
Yeah.
I'd love to
paint a picture. If you paint a picture to be a ZOX album cover, though, you got to like, if you're not like a do-it-yourself band, how would that work? Like, do you have to go to like the label and say, "Geez, I painted this, and we'd really like to use it as an album cover"? You know, how much artistic freedom, does a band like ZOX? I mean, were you guys on a label, or were you doing it yourself?
Yeah, well, both. We started doing everything ourselves, like down to, I mean, everything really.
But so you got to get the okay for something like that, though, or will like a label just doesn't really care about artwork?
Not if you're doing it yourself. But so our second record came out on Side One Dummy Records,
right?
And they were always very open to how their bands like to do things, which is great. Of course, there's technical stuff in there too, but like things do have to get approved. But in that situation, luckily, it was mostly down to the band's decision.
Yeah.
And
it probably saves the label probably like dough, though, right? Because even if you're on a label, but you're bringing them artwork and saying, "Geez, one of the guys in the band drew this. We're all on the same page. You want it to be the artwork for the album cover or whatever." I imagine that probably makes them pretty happy, though.
It depends, because it all comes down to like, I mean, everything is part of a budget.
Yeah.
So you'll get X amount as an advance to do your recording or to do, all of that kind of stuff. So I don't know if it necessarily saves money or headaches or anything.
Right.
Because I mean, then there's more people involved. So like there could be more arguments. But yeah, I haven't had to do that for a while now. So maybe things have changed. I'm not really sure.
Now, you're a pretty heavily tattooed guy. Have you ever done any tattoos yourself, or have you ever thought about like using your artwork to do tattoos? Has there been anything that's been interesting?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how heavily tattooed you are, but I've seen pictures on your Instagram and stuff. You look like you certainly have more ink than the average person.
I've designed several of my own.
Yeah, I have too.
And for other people. I've never applied one to someone.
Yeah.
But
I think drawing on the skin would be hard, though. It seems like it would be hard.
Well, you're supposed to start on like a grapefruit or something.
Yeah.
To practice.
Yeah. Is that what simulates human skin, a grapefruit?
I don't know. I don't know if that's true. Someone said that one time, and I just thought it was funny.
Well, I imagine they'll probably drawing on it though, man, because you know, and I've watched my own tattoo artists like do mine. You know, I mean, there certainly is some stretching and manipulating of the skin, and certainly like symmetry of a tattoo can certainly change. Like you might draw it on straight, then have somebody turn their arm the way that it's anatomically going to fall, and the picture don't look the same anymore. You know, I mean,
all that's taken into consideration, like placement, all that for sure.
Yeah. So are you still actively getting tattoos, or have you seen? Are you open to getting more tattoos, or are you done with the whole tattoo thing?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. Yeah, I'll do it.
You're always down to get some more of it. Yeah, I mean, I haven't been tattooed in a while, man, but I still have a couple more ideas, man, that I certainly would like to get. But yeah, you know, as you get older, you start to get enough aches and pains where you're just like, geez, now I'm going to go pay for someone to give me some pain. But you do have some cool body art afterwards, though. So at least there's a trade-off, because I don't know about you. Are you one of those kind of guys who says, and you don't strike me as you are, but are you one of these like guys who's just like, oh, tattoos don't hurt, or because I think they do. They certainly hurt. I think that's more of like a macho type mechanism where people say, oh, I laughed all the way through, or I slept through my tattoo, or
no,
bring it on.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. I mean, some spots were obviously touchier than others, man. I will say that some were a breeze in comparison, but none of them were really a full-on breeze. You know, they all hurt in their own way.
Definitely not.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so with Flogging Molly, when did that Anthem album come out? It came out this year, or well, now last year, 2022.
Yeah, it was September. It might have been September 1st, but it was September.
Okay, so it's a fairly new album then, still.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, it's still fairly new. So, like, what is there like a timetable on like how often like Dave likes to like do Flogging Molly albums, or how does that work? Like, do you guys know like when you'll be sitting down to do a new album, or do you just kind of take your cues from Dave?
I don't really know. That all that is up to him. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shit. Nowadays, man, it's like it's nice to see people actually putting out full albums. Is that kind of the mindset of this band? Where you feel like going forward, you guys are going to put out full length albums?
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, that's how I think.
Because there's a lot of bands, obviously I don't have to tell you, but a lot of bands go the singles route, or they're kind of shortening down their their body of work to like EPs. I think a lot of that obviously has to do like with the attention span of the general public getting a lot smaller, and there's such a vast amount of music out there on these music platforms now. It's not for wanting for a lot of music, but it's just how the hell do you find the time to slog through it all?
Sure. I don't want to speak for the rest of them, but I like full length records.
Yeah.
I always have. It's fun to have something pop up on whatever platform you're listening to on the internet or whatever, and have like a song and that hits you, and it's like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
But then I like to see it, like if I like that one song, like I'm gonna find the rest of them. Like,
right. Yeah. And that is the nice thing about that. That is the nice thing that I will say about my Apple Music account. And of course, my wife pays for the family account. And at first, I went kicking and screaming because I do still like a physical product. I am an old school guy, so to listen to my music in that manner and not have a CD to unwrap and a gatefold to open up and look at or whatever, I still very much do like that. But I mean, it's kind of the I don't know, the parlance of the times. You kind of just got to go with it. I mean, are you a guy that still buys physical products? Are you like a vinyl guy, or are you listening to most of your music digitalized?
I do both.
Yeah.
Like I just said, like if I find something on like Spotify or whatever,
yeah,
and I like it, I'll usually go out and buy it.
Yeah.
And have it, because I do want to have it. I like that.
Yeah. I'm kind of old school like that. The album experience used to mean a lot. I mean, it was about looking at the album artwork, and it was about reading those liner notes and opening up the gatefold. It was a whole experience, and then dropping the needle and listening to it, the way I believe the artist intended it to be listened to from start to finish.
Sure. Yep. I mostly agree there. Yeah. And it's kind of a touchy subject about the digital platforms and the physical product, but I think if you can use all those as a tool to discover stuff, like I have no problem with it. There's the whole payment issue, which I go back and forth with, and like the crediting issue, all that kind of stuff. But I do prefer having the physical product. Yeah.
Have you ever sat down and really crunched numbers, or really looked at the logistics of like what you make off of X amount of streams or whatever, or do you just let the business side of it, somebody else take care of the business side of it?
Yeah, no, I don't. No, I don't. Somebody else has to do that.
Because that boggles my mind, like how they figure out, and I wouldn't even know like where they would begin, but how many, how X amount of streams equals X amount of revenue, and then that's divvied up between the artists. I mean, it's got to be like, I mean, how do they figure out that like you make like, X amount of dollars off 20,000 streams, or, 30,000 downloads or whatever? Whoever's checking that out has got to be like, and then who checks them? You know what I mean? Like, is there a system of checks and balances? Like where someone comes to like, like let's say Dave is obviously the leader of Flogging Molly. Does somebody come to him and say, geez, off of iTunes, you guys had X amount of streams and that comes out to this much money, and what, just like sends out a check and he divvies it up among the band? Like it just seems like it's gotten so confusing, the music business.
It is confusing. I can't really speak to that, but it I mean, there are a whole bunch of different ways that it's done, like through record deals, or a whatever label. There's many ways to do it.
Yeah, you don't even want to wrap your head around it. I wouldn't want to either.
I stay away from that side of it.
Well, because I know from talking to a lot of guys in bands that there usually is like a guy who's earmarked in every band that I talk to, who's usually kind of the guy with the good head for business in the band. You know what I mean? Might be the guy who started the band, might not be the guy who started the band. It might be the drummer who joined fucking 5 years ago, but he might have the best mentality and the best head for numbers and doing business and doing deals and stuff like that. So I mean, but I'll tell you what, in this day and age, if I was in a band, I wouldn't want that job.
I definitely don't want that job.
No. I'll delegate that to somebody else.
back with ZOX, that was our drummer, John. He handled all of that pretty much. And I mean, we would have discussions about it, but I basically let him do that to an extent.
Right.
Because you do always have to understand it to just at least a little bit.
A working understanding. Yeah. So, so you say you start thinking about seriously thinking about being a musician in your teens. Do you remember like who it was that first started getting really excited about thinking about musicians or being a musician? Like what bands, like what was striking your ears at that time?
Yeah, that is such a tough question. And I have thought about that so many times.
Were you a metalhead growing up?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, me too.
But I also there was music around the house all the time. My father had a pretty good record collection. I grew up playing classical music. So I mean, it all over the place.
Yeah, my dad was like that too. Just a lot of playing the Rolling Stones 1 minute and then playing some blues the next minute, and then like you say, playing some like Tchaikovsky. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that certainly, I'm not a musician like myself, but obviously having a wide palette like that though, has to pay dividends when you actually become a musician, though, right? Having all that exposure early on to it.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I wouldn't take that back at all. Like, there's no one thing that is an influencer,
right.
And my sister's band was very influenced by like Eastern European music.
Okay.
And so where did that come from?
Right.
when and it also depends on like when and where and how you start listening to stuff. Like all those things can affect that.
Yeah.
What your life experience at the time is, like, if you're, anything can affect that.
Yeah. And now you might have told me the story the last time we talked, and obviously I didn't get to air that episode because of all the fuck ups during it and everything. But how do you come, how do you come under the eye of Dave King as far as like your entry into Flogging Molly? Does he find you? Do you audition? How does that all work?
No. So, I'll make the story short. I met them during ZOX years. We did a tour together.
Okay.
And I met their tech, and he and I talked a lot. Years later, I was with another band, teching for them, and that band ended up touring with Flogging Molly, and so we reconnected then, me and this other tech. Eventually, he wanted to get off the road. He had a kid, and he wanted to spend more time at home. And he called me up because he knew that I knew those instruments, the like banjo, violin, like the ones that like he in his mind he couldn't trust anyone to do but himself.
Right.
But so he called me up and he was just like, would you be interested in this job? And like at the time, what the other band was kind of winding down to make a record, and so I was kind of looking for work at the time.
Yeah.
And so I just said, yeah, that'd be great. I'll do that. And so I was tech for a few years.
Okay.
And things happened and members changed, and I was there all the time, and so was asked to if I would be interested in stepping in.
And that's a great segue too, because if you're teching for that, man, you're seeing them night in and night out. You really, you're really getting those like songs ingrained in you too.
Oh, the amount of times I've heard those songs.
Yeah, yeah. So, have you ever been out on the road or in, in your travels at all? And have you met musicians that where you've been starstruck?
Oh, for sure, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, how can that not happen in in that kind of world? I don't know who. It's another question where I'm kind of like, well, who was it? But that is definitely happened for sure. Yeah.
Who's one big name? Who's one big name that blew you away where you're like, I can't believe I'm meeting this fucking dude?
Okay. We sort of semi-recently did a tour with Social Distortion, and so Mike Ness would be there.
Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah, that'd be a cool one. Yeah, he just seems like that. Yeah,
that's kind of an easy one. It was so recent.
Yeah.
But
a legend.
Yeah.
I mean, no question about it, man. Like, there's meeting people that you admire, but then there's meeting fucking legends, though. I think he definitely falls into that pantheon of legends for sure.
Sure.
Yeah, he does. So when you guys go out on the road, like now, you guys, obviously we spoke about like having family obligations and all that stuff. Does everybody kind of sit around and determine the amount of time that you guys go out for? Like, what's comfortable with everyone's schedule? Does Dave like kind of say like, geez, can kind of feel everybody out? Like, how long do we want to go out for? You know what I mean? How do you set that amount of time?
I'm not really part of that. I don't really know, but I'm sure there's some extent of that there.
He takes it into account.
I'm sorry.
He takes it into account, though, right? Like, I mean, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty. That's pretty. That's got to be one of those things that like touring nowadays, man. Is like as you get older. I imagine that the parameters like certainly have to change a lot.
Yeah, I mean it's basically just exactly that, getting older. Like sure, like I used to have no problem getting in a van and going wherever, like whenever.
Yeah.
And for like and or whatever. But like as with anything, it's really how you mature.
Right.
And the way that you go about it, the way that you like touring specifically, the way that you handle yourself and the people around you, really.
Are you still somebody that gets to go out and see a lot of live music yourself, like as a fan?
Yeah, I try to.
Yeah.
Just
try. Yeah.
It's schedule permitting.
I mean, big shows, or do you like going to see more like club level shows, or do you like going to like big arena rock shows?
I'm not big into big arena shows.
Fucking expensive for me. Jesus Christ.
Super expensive.
Yeah.
But if it's someone that I really want to see, I'll for sure at least try to do it.
You got anybody on the bucket? Do you have anybody in the bucket list that you haven't seen yet, though, man? Who you've always been dying to see?
Oh God. That's still around.
Yeah, that's still. Yeah, that'd make it easy to see him, Spencer. I guess. I mean, Prince would be at the top of mind, but I don't think that's going to happen anymore.
What was it?
Prince. I love Prince.
Prince. Yeah. Right. God.
And I missed my chance too, man. I procrastinated a couple times, and you just always think that these guys are going to be around. You know what I mean? You'll have a chance. I'll catch him next time around. That's kind of made me start to realize, like, hey, if there's somebody coming that's on my bucket list, go.
Yeah, sure. Yep. Someone current that's at that kind of level, I'm not really sure.
No, you probably don't even. Yeah. Are there new bands out there that got you excited, or you're not even following new music? Like when you can actually sit down and say, I'm going to drop the needle on some music and sit down and for my own personal enjoyment, listen to music. Do you ever explore new music, or do you just kind of go to like your old familiar favorites?
No, sure. I'll explore. As I get older, it's not harder, but I'm less interested in finding newer things.
Me too.
Which I don't like saying that.
No, I don't either.
But a lot of local music here, like smaller things. Yeah, that's a
Is
tough
there a
one.
good is there a good music scene in Rhode Island?
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
It always has been.
Any particular genre, or is it just kind of all over the place? Like, you know how like New York City is known for like its hardcore, or Seattle is known for grunge. Is there a specific genre that Rhode Island is known for, or is it kind of all over the place?
Sure, but it is all over the place. But there's it's in Providence specifically. There has always been a big like sort of noise scene.
Yeah.
You know, it also kind of depends on the area. There's a jam band thing here. There's a lot of experimental stuff.
Yeah.
Probably due to having the art schools and the just like college scene also.
Now, are you one of these guys who's ever thought about teaching music at all?
You know, I have, but I don't think that's really for me.
No, because I see a lot of guys. I've interviewed a couple of guys on here who do like the, you know, rock and roll fantasy camp, or they work with the fucking school of rock and stuff like that. And I think teaching though is certainly something that you have to have a passion for, you know.
For sure, and people skills, really.
Yeah.
No, I've thought about it and thought about like, say I can't do what I'm doing now anymore. Like, would I be able to teach?
Right.
And I'm not really sure if that's for me.
Yeah. I know. I think about that too. It's like I do try to, and obviously doing a podcast certainly helps. You know, I don't really have a choice but to be a people person, and I work in healthcare and I take care of people, and I'm dealing with patients and their families all day. So, you know, by de facto, I kind of have to be a people person. But I don't know that I'd want to sit down and teach somebody. It's very frustrating. Like I watched this past summer where I watched these guys, you know, trying to teach like you know, like little pint-sized kids, you know, to play baseball. And I think, God bless them, man. They got to have the patience of a fucking saint. The kids are sitting down, they're playing with the grass, they're picking their nose, nobody's paying attention. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, at a higher level, possibly, you know what I mean? But when you're starting out, man, you know, with kids 5, 6, 7 years old, and you're trying to teach them the rules, you know what I mean? And it really outline like what they need to be doing. Very difficult.
Yeah. You know, it's funny that you say that. Like, I think that, for me, the age group would actually have a lot to do with it.
It would matter. Yeah, it would matter.
You know, like if whoever it is that you're teaching or whatever, it can ask you interesting questions. I think that would make the teaching part of it much more interesting.
Right. It's like come back. It's like come back when these kids are 13. Come back when these kids are 13. I'll be happy to teach them. At 5 years old, you can have them, but I'll wait till they're a little bit older, man. You know. So, have you ever sat around? I'm curious about this, man, because the name Flogging Molly, has Dave ever expanded on like what that actually means, or where the impetus for that name came from? Are people still getting flogged in the 21st century at all?
I don't want to speak too much about that also, but like. As far as I know, they started at a pub in LA called Molly Malone's.
Oh,
and,
okay.
And the name came out of there somehow.
Okay. Yeah, because you know, it kind of gives off that like Alice in Chains type thing, like where we're doing something horrific to to this woman, and what did she do? I mean, why is she getting flogged?
I don't think there's any correlation there.
No. You know, I mean, I could think of a couple exes I wouldn't mind flogging, but I mean, you know, that's for another time and another discussion, I guess. But so going forward, when do you think we'll see? First of all, I got to say, man, that we were just talking about concerts and how expensive they can be, man. But you guys have on your coming up itinerary Syracuse. I should probably pop out and see you guys.
Oh yeah, how far are you from Syracuse?
About a half an hour.
Oh well, yeah. There you go.
Landmark Theater. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's on the itinerary. I just saw it today because I get notifications, you know, from all the different venues around here. Anytime stuff is coming around here, and you know, I don't think you guys are the type of band where I'm going to have to fucking take a second mortgage out on my house to come and see you play live. You know what I mean? Like, well, no, I shit you not. I just looked into out in Syracuse, we've got the Carrier Dome, you know, which is the big stadium where the Syracuse Orange basketball team and football team plays. And, you know, of course, the mighty Red Hot Chili Peppers are coming there. I looked into it very briefly to go see. But the thing that sticks in my craw is not the $79 ticket price. That's certainly manageable. But then it's the $25 Ticketmaster fee that's added onto that all of a sudden puts a very manageable $79 ticket up to $104, $105.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's been in existence for as long as I can remember.
I get why Pearl Jam was trying to take them to task back in the 90s, man, because it does seem a little bit like price gouging, and nobody really took up with those guys, a lot like nobody really backed up Lars when he was trying to take on Napster. But it really is an issue, and I think it's more of an issue now because I think handling fee for what, though? You don't even really get a physical ticket no more. If you do, you print it out at your own fucking house, or you got something on your phone that they scan. What are they handling?
Right. Yeah. Well, once it starts,
I know
it's not going to stop.
I know it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy because I mean, you stop and think if 30,000 people, and then me and my son figured this out one night talking on the phone. If 30,000 people show up at that show, then they've made $750,000 just on that handling fee alone. If you add that on, just that extra $25 on everyone's ticket, that's crazy to me, man. That's crazy.
It is crazy. And unfortunately, I don't see it going away.
No, that's why I like those club gigs. That's why I like going to those club gigs. I like going to see something small in a nice intimate setting. Obviously, you can't go and see a band, who gets to that, stadium level. The Chili Peppers aren't going to come and play the local watering hole down the street. I get that. You know what I mean? And, I'm sure it costs a lot of money to bring a band like that in. But I mean, for fuck's sake, you push the price out, like way out of the parameters of what the blue collar, John Q taxpayer can afford.
Yeah, it's true.
I remember my first concert, man. I remember my first concert in 1987. I went to see Metallica on the Injustice for All tour. A big deal to me. I was 14, 15 years old. And the whole night cost me $30. The whole night. That's a ticket and a T-shirt included. I mean, obviously, I know times change. It's 30-something years ago or whatever, but
there you go. That's
the good old days, as we like to call it. The good old days. Yeah. So what else you got going on? I mean, are you the kind of guy who ever sits around and thinks ever about doing anything like solo projects, anything like that?
Sure. Yeah. All the time.
Yeah. You just don't get around to it.
I kind of don't get around to it.
I sit around and think about it.
It's always in the back of my mind. Like,
yeah.
And like kind of like what we were saying earlier about pandemic time, like you can start something and then like just get bored.
Yeah. Like, yeah. I know how. Yeah. Well, I mean, is your now here's something that I'm curious about, man. Is your wife into the type of music that you play? Because see, like me and my wife have very different musical tastes. Like I couldn't drag my wife to a lot of the concerts that I go to, especially like if I go to like an extreme type metal show or anything like that. Like, are you and your wife on the same page as far as musical tastes?
Yeah, for sure. And of course, there are things that she likes that I don't, and I like that she doesn't. But like, for sure.
What's something? What's like something that you would be guilty of listening to that someone might be surprised that you listen to? Justin Bieber?
I honestly don't think I've ever heard anything.
I was trying to reel you in right there, man, and see if you dish something embarrassing on here, man. Justin Bieber would be probably pretty embarrassing, though. Do you look at a guy like Justin Bieber and say, "What the?" Because I think this way sometimes. Now, I like to think that I've had a lot of talented people on here, man. Is it infuriating sometimes, or do you not even give it a thought? Like when you look at like how talented some people are, and obviously commercial success and artistic success don't always line up together. But some people, man, are just worth a fucking a fortune. And then you look at somebody else that isn't worth a fortune that has more talent in their little finger sometimes,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Is it infuriating?
I don't follow enough of that to have like a solid answer there.
That's probably healthy.
I hope it no, but someone like Bieber, like I know he exists.
Yeah.
But I honestly couldn't tell you anything about him.
I'm infuriated just that he exists. I mean, that's infuriating enough fucking for me right there. I mean, he's got a very punchable face. He seems like the kind of guy that I'd like to see at a Flogging Molly Dropkick Murphy show, man, because I could use the excuse of being drunk and all fueled up on the music and just smack him around a little.
Oh, we don't like that.
No. Okay. All right. Outside in the parking lot, I wouldn't disrespect the sanctity of the show ever.
Okay. Listen, I gotta wrap this up.
Yeah,
gotta
that's
wrap this
fine.
up.
Yeah, I get it, man. It's been great talking to you. I'm glad we actually got to do this proper, and I have an episode worthy of putting it out because
man.
I try to hold it to a high standard, and after we got interrupted a couple times, it was just like, fuck, let me wait a little bit. I'll feel him out. And I was actually glad when you reached out to me and said, geez, how did that episode come out, man? And I tried to be as honest as I could. I'm just like, crap. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't put one out there that didn't do justice. You know what I mean? Where the audio and the video weren't good, and your ideas and your comments and everything weren't reflected to the utmost. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you reaching out to me and being willing to do it again, man. It's been awesome chopping it up with you, man. And I appreciate you putting forth the effort to want to come back on.
Yeah, I appreciate everything you just said, and thank you for getting in touch.
Yeah, and let's stay in touch. And when we got something new to talk about, man, we'll jump on here and we'll do it again, man.
Yeah, get in touch in Syracuse.
Yeah, I will. I'll let you know like when the date's getting a little closer, man. I'll keep my eye on it. All right,
great.
Spencer. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much, man. Have a good one, brother. Thank you.
Too.
All right, later, brother. Did we lose him? Now we get to watch him try to log off, right? Spencer, can you figure it out?
Nope.
I love it. All you got to do is press that red button.
I got to turn back on first. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, that one, it looks like the phone there. There he goes, folks. That is Spencer Swain, a man that can play anything. I'm talking anything that has fucking strings. Put something in front of him with strings and watch him prove it. But you might know him currently as you heard, the banjo guy, guitar guy, mandolin guy, fiddle guy, whatever the fuck they need him to do in Flogging Molly. Fantastic Celtic punk rock fucking monster of a band. Go check out everything he does. And if you want to go check out some of the ZOX stuff that he did, ZOX, go check out some of that stuff too. Had him on one other time, man. Like I said, a lot of technical difficulties. We got jammed up a little bit as far as, the internet connection it was all on my end. So he reached out to me. It was kind enough to be able to come on here and be willing to come on here and do it again, man. That is Spencer Swain. Straight out of Rhode Island. I don't know if that really sounds all that tough. You know what I mean? It doesn't have the ring of a straight out of Compton, but still, I don't know why I'm doing this either. This is kind of like a B-boy type thing that I'm doing. Keith, I know you're a big Flogging Molly fan. Caught you a couple times flogging your Molly. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that episode of Pod Scum. That is, of course, the great Spencer Swain, as I said. And remember, guys, to take it easy and keep it sleazy.